Before we get into a lot of the more complex programming and even just some of the basics of programming, let's just try one more thing. So far, we've gotten the robot to display something, and we've gotten to wait for it to actually receive some sort of input from the user on the menu buttons. The next super basic thing that we're going to do is just driving. Now, we could talk a little bit more about Java and its components and how that interacts with the robot and the programming, but let's wait on that. Let's just go into some basic movement, something else to try out, give you some sort of ideas of what you're seeing based on the code, and then we'll actually go in and start explaining it once you have sort of a visual representation of what the results are of that code. So I'm just going to create a new project, and I'm not looking for anything special, so I'm just going to go to next. And I could create from a basic template, but I'm not going to. I'm just going to start from scratch. Project name is going to be drive test, and maybe 1, because we might do another one with turning. We'll hit finish, and we'll let it do its thing. So we'll go ahead and close that, and we have our drive test over here. We have src, the source, and let's right click on that and tell it that we want a new class, and we're just going to call this class drive test. Alright, so we have our drive test here. We have the public class. We have a comment up here, which we haven't really talked about yet. And now we need to actually put in some code. So all of our code has to be in between this curly brace and that curly brace, because this is what is defining what is contained within this class that we just created. And so just like before, we're going to use our public static void inside of a main, and we could type all that out, or we can just do the shortcut psvm, and you can see here that's what we want. So I'm just going to press enter, and there we go, public static void main string args, etc. And inside of here I am going to put just a basic print line like we did before. So I'm going to do system dot out and print line string, and then inside of here I'm just going to put my string, we'll call it driving test, and it will display this while it's running. Actually, you know what, we're going to tell it ready to start driving test, because I don't want it driving right off the table. So now we need to do the wait for button, but we didn't import anything yet, so we need to add in our import. So above the public class, we need to do import Lejos .nxt .button semicolon. So now it's importing this, and that means that we can use the button command. So now we can use button and just wait for any press, parentheses, semicolon. And I'm going to do a new print line, system dot out dot print line, and let's put a string in here. This will be running driving test. And so now we need to actually make the motors run. Now the issue is, just like the button, we haven't imported the motors library, so we need to import that as well. So we're just going to go back up here to the start and do import Lejos.nxt .motor semicolon. There we go. And now we can tell it motor dot a dot forward and parentheses semicolon, and let's do motor dot b forward parentheses semicolon, so that way both motors drive. And then we'll have another wait command, button dot wait for any press, so that way the motors will run until we tell them to stop. And we'll do motor A dot stop and motor B dot stop, and we'll do one more print line. So system out dot print line, put in our string, program, or maybe driving test complete, and finish that off with a semicolon. So everything looks good to me. Let's give it a try. So just like before, I'm going to reveal in Finder. Here's my .java. I'm going to copy and paste it to my desktop. So now we have that. And open Safari. Let's go to Lejos. Getting started, Mac OS X, because I have not copied and pasted this onto my desktop yet. So Launchpad, Other, Terminal, I've turned on my robot and connected it, so we'll put that in there, and make sure that we change this to our username. So that looks good, and we'll put that in there, and we'll put that in there, and let's hope that everything worked out. Okay, so let's try converting this into the .class file. So NXJC, let's make sure we go to my desktop first, so CD desktop. Alright, and now NXJC to convert that. So drive test Java, make sure that the file name matches. That looks good. Here is our .class. Oops, that's not our .class. That's an old one. Here's our .class. So we could run the link, but I think it might work if I just try to run it. So let's try that. So NXJ upload, and we'll just have it run right away because it has the wait button. And drive test. Unfortunate. Alright, just gonna clear this. There we go. So let's use the NXJ link. And O for open, and drive test dot NXJ, and drive test. Alright, so we'll run this, and we have the .nxj file, and now let's try uploading that. Oh, .nxj. So it said it uploaded it, and I can see my message on the robot, and let's see if it runs. Well, it ran, but it only ran with one motor because I didn't make sure that my motors matched my program. I had one in A and one in C, so let's try again with A and B. We'll navigate to the right files, and we'll do drive test, execute, ready to start. Better. Now, one little issue with mine was that right here I put that it should print the line driving test complete, and I'm sure it worked, but I forgot to actually tell it to wait for any button press, and so I never actually saw that line. So that would actually then allow me to see this and then wait for a button press and then restart the software, instead of restarting it automatically without even showing me this line. But overall, it still worked.